Hey guys, welcome back to Broken Journey, the podcast. I am your host, Elva Rivera. Thank you so much for coming back. I know I have been MIA, I know, but I had COVID, so I needed some time to rest and clear my voice because literally my voice was very raspy and honestly I didn't want to cough while I was trying to record. And I don't think you wanted to hear me coughing either. Anyway, guys, today in this episode, I connect with my friend Evie and we discuss mental health. We discuss depression and we discuss things that we are experiencing and situations that, we have been going through. And I'm sure that we are not the only people with everything going on with the pandemic and situations going on. It has been tough. It has been tough for everybody. And so, with that being said, if you are experiencing any situations when it comes to depression, any situations where you're feeling like you want to commit suicide or something like that, please go and get some help. There is a website called betterhelp.com. That's BetterHelp.com. That they have various different therapists that you can contact. You also have, if you are working, the majority of the companies have employee assistance programs, and usually they call it EAP. And those are programs that they offer complimentary counseling. And you also have your health insurance. Please, guys, remember that your health insurance does pay for therapy. And if you are at a point of suicide, please contact 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. And if you know someone who is experiencing depression, please pass this on to someone else. Thank you. Yeah, let's talk about depression, girl. How do we get started?
Bueno, by maybe defining what it is, but depression to me is a deep depression, a deep state of rest. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
but for a lot of people, obviously, it's viewed negatively. So that's why, I kind of wanted us to talk about it. I think more and more people are posting about mental awareness, and I think it's an awesome topic because who doesn't get maybe stress, anxiety, and then next thing you know, it's beyond having a bad day, and it turns into a mini depression or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I agree. I did a topic on being burnt out, and you know part of being burnt out also you also get depressed as well. So I think it's a good topic to talk about because being that I am starting to feel like that depression, and I was trying to push it off, I guess, and say, it's just that I'm working from home and all this other stuff. And then I started to realize, I know you laugh at me all the time because I kind of counsel myself over here.
Yes.
Like, yeah, girl, you got this going on, or whatever, but you can do this, you can do that. And, it's still a struggle. And, lately in the past, I would say 2 months or so, 3 months, I've been feeling a little depressed, and I've been pushing it to the side as, yeah, you're always home. Since you're working from home, you don't really go out. And then this pandemic, who wants to really, go out, you know?
Right,
So I was
right.
kind of feeling, depressed there. And you know, it just kind of brought back so many things from my past, like past traumas and things like that. So to me, I need to, and I am going to seek some therapy for this, some trauma for the traumas in my life, right? Because when you're young and stuff like that, and you have so many things going on, you just push certain things to the side or push it to the back burner and
Right,
don't really get the help that you need for it, right?
right.
So I think it's important, and I know that you have had issues with depression and things like that. So I'll let you talk a little bit too about, what you've been experiencing, and, with mental health and things like that. And I know that your mom also suffers from, some condition with mental health. So,
Correct, correct. Yes, and I think that for the most part, I think you go to any therapist or anyone really is going to tell you, well, what is it going to take? It's going to take a balancing. It's going to take a grounding, balancing, you feeling balanced. But obviously, I think that yes, there's a lot of trauma. I mean, I think that everyone will go through life and will have some sort of a trauma, and that's what we call baggage, right? So,
exactly.
yeah, and the first thing would for me would be to talk about it, to talk out loud, maybe even that day something that happened, because if I don't, it kind of eats me up inside, and that's where the depression comes into play. They say depression, it's like anger turned inside out, and it's true. Um,
Wow. That's
yeah,
good
because
yeah, that's good to understand. Yeah.
absolutely. So for there's like the mind, the body, and the soul, right? So the mind is one thing, and then the body is going to be another. So I actually have it almost separated sometimes, Elba, where sometimes I'll get anxiety, I'm stressed, and I know that it's like, oh my God, I'm feeling fear, and I'll have a
Right.
friend next to me say it's gonna be okay, and I'm like, yeah, obviously I know it's gonna be okay, but
Right.
sometimes
But at
you
the
are
moment,
aware, and I think that's the key, becoming aware. And now you didn't want to push it any longer, because next thing you know, it's the not really leaving the house for a prolonged period of time, or not really enjoying cooking, or not really taking a shower, or not really wanting to, I don't know, just simple
yes.
things. So right, so
Yeah, the simple things in life where you figured, okay, you know what, this is just normal, I'm not gonna it's it'll pass, and it's not like that. And I actually
no.
realized that not too long ago. I was like, wait a minute, Alba, it's getting to the point where you're just like, ay, I don't even want to go outside. Ay, que la gente me pesta, or something like that, It's like, wait a minute, you're stuck in the house so long, that it gets to the point where you're just like, I don't feel like going outside. I don't, and you need to enjoy your life. Life is so short. There's so many people who are committing suicide behind being depressed. And that girl, Chesley Chris, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God.
Hmm.
You just never know. She was such a bubbly person. Everybody that spoke about her said, she was such a happy girl. She always had a smile on her face, and she was one of the strongest women. And then she committed suicide. And I think her mother posted something on LinkedIn yesterday talking
Okay.
about that she was a high functioning uh depressed person. And I was
Right,
like,
right.
shoot, that is
You
crazy.
know,
You don't think about that.
yeah. And you have so many people that are, um, you know, diagnosed with so many conditions,
Yeah.
bipolar, or, schizophrenia, or things just that are very well defined according to, to the applied science. And
Right.
honestly, it's very hard for me, because you cannot measure that. This is stuff
Right.
that someone has to listen to you, and based on what you tell them, then they'll
Hmm.
somehow help you out. But again, therapy would be talking it out loud, and then of course medication can help to take the edge off. For some of us, we need a
Right.
little more than others,
Right.
yeah, so by now I know that I couldn't ignore it. I was kind of ignoring it, and that's what was
Mm-hmm.
happening. I was eating it inside, and then if I got into maybe a discussion, maybe a work meeting, or it could be a discussion with your spouse, and you maybe
Right.
didn't feel like you spoke up, and then you're like, man, I should have said something. Like I feel like I didn't stand up for myself, and
Right.
that little action can actually bother you so much to the point that maybe you can't sleep, and then the lack of sleep, and then the lack of food, you name it, right? So you have to treat the mind, the body, and the soul, and that's what I'm working on
Right.
with my depression.
Yeah, and it all connects. Sometimes we don't realize it, but it does. It all
Oh yeah.
connects together. And especially like, again, so many things going on, and like you said, if you don't start talking to your partner about how you're feeling and you're holding that in, that is also something that, those things that you harboring in your body affects you in so many different ways, you know?
Absolutely, physiologically, like
Yeah.
from not just headaches and pains, but again, the anxiety, it's that
The
electricity, it's all those emotions that are wanting to be in motion, and you're almost like
mhm.
not allowing them. So I always tell
Right.
people, if you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like, I don't know, maybe just punch a pillow, sometimes. And all
Right.
those emotions are very normal in a human being, and that's
Of
what
course.
sucks. That's why I think it's
I
like,
know. I know. I know. And this is another thing that I wanted to talk about because the stigma behind it in the Latin culture, right? There's so much stigma behind, oh, if you're going to therapy or if you're going to see a psychiatrist or if you're going to see this person, it's because tú eres loca, you're crazy or this or
right.
that.
Oh my God, I've gotten that. Remember? I mean, I've gotten
Yes.
that plenty of times.
And it's like, why do you have to be crazy? Well, you need to harbor all that stuff inside and have to deal with it. And how about if you don't know how to deal with it? Look at how many people, again, like I said, people kill themselves behind listening to other people saying, ay, tú eres loca. Ay, nena,
Right,
cállate. You don't make no sense. And
right,
I think you're going crazy because, and then now with social media, it doesn't help either, right? And there's people who are behind the keyboard and who bully people in their comments because they feel
right,
like it, and they don't
right,
really understand the mental state of certain people. I
right.
know, again, I'm referring to that girl Chesley because I was listening to it not what the other day on Monday, and it saddened me so much how she would say, yeah, people in my comments are like, kill yourself, and I'm like, what the fuck, who says that? Who in their right mind tells
Yeah,
people those things? Like,
yeah.
what is inside of you, you know what I'm saying, as a person to put a comment like that on somebody's page, right?
And I have met so many people that are like that, and they think it's funny. They
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
not.
literally funny. It's just funny. That's not up to them. They're not killing themselves, but you see, they
Right.
don't understand because they don't have compassion. They haven't been through those
Right.
experiences. But so many of us have been through that experience that now, it's a little bit more awareness out there. So I really like the
Right.
fact that you're doing this recording because of that, just putting it out
Yes.
there.
Yes, of course. And again, like I said, I'm feeling, depressed. I'm feeling, different kind of emotions that I haven't felt in a long time. And just, as I'm running through my life and, figuring out I want to change some things, and I'm starting to get, again, the traumas from my past and things that have happened to me that I've never dealt with is coming back up. And I'm saying to myself, okay, oh, but you need to cleanse, cleanse
Yes.
all this stuff out of your system, right? Because what you did was you just held it back and you were like, oh, I don't have time to deal with it. Well, now is the time, right? Now is the time that you need to get in there, dig in there, clean, scrape all that shit out, and get yourself together, because there's so much more that you have to offer, you know, in general, not just to the world or just to my kids or whatever. I just have so many things in my mind that I want to do, and I'm holding back because the depression, the fear, the insecurities, and all this other stuff that's causing me to hold back. And
Right.
I think that being able to deal with these things are are going to help me move forward, right? Move forward in my career, move forward in my life. And I'm going to be 50, so it might be a midlife crisis or something, but
Stop it. It's whatever you
seriously,
call it, right? It's whatever you call it.
yeah,
So
it's
we can
whatever,
call it whatever we want.
it's whatever. But I said no, and by, for me, I lived most of my life um taking care of my children, making sure that they were good. So I put a lot of my stuff to the back burner to make sure that I raise my kids well, right? They're not perfect, and neither am I. And my daughter and I go back and forth laughing because I spoil my grandson, certain things that I didn't let them do, and I say, hey, I'm grandma. I learned from being a parent that, there's other ways to deal with things. And she's
True.
like,
That's
yeah,
very true.
okay. Okay, mom, whatever. you know, but, in all seriousness, I felt like, okay, I put everything else to the back burner to make sure that, I was being there for my children as much as possible, considering that I was a single mom, and I had to, take and make sure that they were fine, make sure that they had a roof over their head, make sure that they were fed. And don't get me wrong, like I said before in a previous podcast, that monetarily was there, and he did come here and there, but he wasn't there on a day-to-day basis. And because we live in different states, it was kind of hard.
Right.
Um, but having to carry the majority of that weight, it was, now I don't have that. And so I don't have to worry about that. Now I have to worry about me, right? Because now my kids are grown, they're doing their own thing and stuff like that. So now I have to worry about me. And so now I have to deal with those things, those baggages, so that I can move forward and create what I want to create in life, right? To to just leave a good legacy, right, behind. So those
Nice.
are kind of some of the things that I'm struggling with when it comes to depression, and so I'm looking into seeking some help. I just got to figure out who best would be to help me, a trauma coach, a life coach, or well, I'm saying coach, but therapy, kind of,
Well,
what
they're
kind of
they're all gonna
therapist.
be they all can be effective. So, and it
Okay.
won't know until you try it. It's like a hairstylist, right? But
Right.
your hair is gonna be wavy and it's gonna wave in a different way. So
Right.
you're not gonna know until you try it. I tell you,
Right.
if it's something simple, sometimes even with a friend, you can help out. But again, it's actually sitting with those emotions. I think for me, when I have ignored it, then that's where it kind of goes buried in, and then it
Oh,
comes back up, and then so on and so forth. So if
right.
it's coming up for a reason. If it's coming up because it wants to
Right.
talk, it's coming up because it needs to be looked at.
Right.
um so sit with it, know that you're gonna cry. And listen, if you get depressed and you have crying spells, now there's a difference between just crying because you're letting something out, and then you're having these crying spells because you're extremely extremely depressed, and all you see is a black hole. You know what I mean? No hope
Right.
for you to live. So when you get the no hope for you to live, that's a little bit different. So are
Right.
you journaling?
Right. I just started journaling,
Excellent.
but I haven't journaled in, woof, like 20 years, I want to say. Like
But
20
that's
years I
okay. That's
haven't
a good
journaled.
start.
And yeah, and so I just started to journal, and I think, that's kind of helping me a little bit in a way where, it's helping me release my feelings. This is another thing that I struggle with. And don't get me wrong, like I can communicate to people and tell them how I'm feeling and things like that in certain aspects, right? But when it comes to me, myself, it's hard for me to explain or hard for me to open up about certain things, right?
Right.
And so this is where I'm also struggling, because when I have so many things that I want to put out here in this podcast, and every time I think about, okay, Elba, what's the topic for this month? When I start viewing the topics for the month of, let's say, this month, February,
Uh-huh.
what are the topics you want to talk about? And I have so many ideas and I have so many things, but when it comes to writing it down or articulating it, it's like, boom, se me desaparece. Like it just goes over my head.
Right.
I can't think about it. And I'm like, what the hell? You
No,
know?
but don't get frustrated. This is absolutely normal. This is totally okay because remember, the universe is made up of energy, and I
Right,
believe it's an intelligent mind, which is consciousness. It's energy. So
right.
if you're gonna create your reality, Elba, it's first in the mind, and
Yep.
then into thoughts, into you literally, like we've talked about this, from your head to your
Yes.
hand, and literally put. So just keep practicing. You don't have to do sentences. You know how I do my journaling? I do words. So whatever words that comes to mind, I just do it, because that's
Oh,
what's the first.
cool.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't feel bad about journaling in sentences anymore, because all I need is like maybe a visual, a picture, an idea, and this and that, and I write everything down, and then it's like almost like a mirror, and the universe takes a look at what
Yes.
that's your, yeah. So try maybe some words. I think that'd be exciting because it doesn't put the pressure of you journaling, but definitely get
Right.
in the habit of it, kind of like do it almost
And
every
I
day if
like
you can.
that idea. Yes, and I like that idea because for me, mentally, I have to write a whole sentence. And what you just explained
Oh,
is
okay.
so is it like what you just explained is so perfect. Because for me, I as an analyst I'm a treasury analyst, so I analyze a lot of things, and that paralyzes you a lot because I'm like,
Right.
okay, I need to put a whole outline. I need to do, and fuck, I don't need to be perfect. Just start.
Yeah,
Just start
Elba, it
writing
sounds
and
like
start. And don't
yes.
think what you just said, just writing words. I guess it's like kind of like brainstorming, right? Where you put a word in the middle and just like start, like you put a word in the middle and then you start brainstorming through those words, like let's say, house, love, food, this and that, kind of something like that, you know what
There
I'm
you
saying? And
go. There you go.
I really like that idea. I think that'll help me so much more, girl, because this.
I'm so happy for you. Absolutely. That has really worked for me. And obviously now I take it up a notch. Now because I
Yeah.
have like extra sensory ability, now I take
Right.
that journaling into what we call the, automatic writing. And I'm able to getting more insight, more information because we are multidimensional beings. But
Yes.
start with that. It sounds like you just need like a little helping hand.
Yes.
Sometimes a tip or an advice might be good, but that helping hand is your own hand. It's you
Yes.
being, it's like your higher self. It's like you being a person, but it's like you have different personas about you. And if you
Right.
put a word, it's like saying, look, um, you got to come up with an entire sentence, and you can't do it right now. Fuck, that's really hard. It's not that you don't know
Yeah.
how, it's that you can't right now. All right, well, it's not that you can, it's that you feel that you can't. Okay, well, you
Right.
can. And then you change the verbiage little by little, and that's how I do with my getting my shit out. That's how I do it. It's And then the words will
Yes.
turn into, the more you do it, the more it'll be like you get messages for, I mean, let's get deep here about the soul, right? The mind, about it. Then you get
Yeah.
messages if you believe in a higher power, if you believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you know what? And it's a good practice. I'm gonna keep on doing that. kind of reminds me
Yeah,
of.
and the thing is that once you start to get accustomed to writing those one words, this is my mind thinking, right? Again, over freaking analyzing things, but once you start getting those words, then it'll start. Once you get comfortable, right, just doing those words, you can start going on and on and on and on, and then it'll start perfecting where you want to go.
Right, right,
That's what I'm thinking, right?
right, right. And listen, and you're viewing it because it's like you view
Hmm.
your mind. I have
Yeah.
I've gone into states of psychosis. We've talked about this, and I've gone into
Yes.
different states, um, altered states of mind. And so when
Right.
I even write, it looks extremely crazy, but to me it makes a lot of sense because I'm letting things out. So if, example, I come up with like food, maybe it's because I'm like, all right, what am I going to cook today? So I sit with that and I say, you know what, I wrote food.
Mhm.
I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do chicken with some broccoli, blah blah. Okay. And then I wrote something else and it had to do with my childhood trauma, right? Maybe um, my sexually abused or something like that. So then I
Right.
sit with it and I'm like, fuck, I thought I was over this shit. So
Mhm.
you just got to sit with it. You just got to say, how do I feel? Why does it bother me? It's fucking wrong, or it was wrong, or
Of
why did it
course.
happen? And could I have just done something different? Well, not really. I was a child, so I didn't know
Right.
better. And then I just
And
sit
not
with it,
blaming
and that's what
yourself.
you do in
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah, and not blaming yourself for something that happened to you, right? Those traumas, right?
Correct.
Because
Correct.
sometimes we blame ourselves, and I've spoken to you about this too. I was molested as well as a child. That's another thing that you and I can talk about, and we can discuss in another podcast. Um, but those things as well is something that you know we we keep bringing up, and like you said, we feel like, okay, we're done with this, but something will trigger that thing behind your mind, right?
Yes.
Something will, you'll see something on TV or something like that, and it'll trigger you. Kind of like, you know what? As a matter of fact, I have this 100 Days of Bible Promises, a book that I asked my daughter-in-law to get me for Christmas, and there was a page in there. I don't know what it was talking about. I can't remember the exact words, but it started to talk about death and eternal life. It said eternal life, and so I know that we are, souls in different bodies, right?
Hmm.
And for some reason, it triggered me about death. Reading that, after just finished reading that and trying to write something behind it, I was so triggered by death. I was catching an anxiety attack about it. I was like, what is going to happen? I'm not going to see my children. And what's going to happen when I die? Where am I going to be? How I will
Right.
never see them again. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
I had to go, whoa. I had to slap my hands together and
Right.
say, stop, stop.
Right.
And,
Right.
and and don't think about those things. Think about enjoying the moments that you have with them now. Think about this, think about that, girl. But I had an emotional breakdown there for a minute.
I
you
hear
know
you. I hear you. I hear you. And you know
because some
how
things
I
trigger
would
you.
explain that? I would explain that in the brain, like the chemical or that energy that goes from point A to point B. It
Mm-hmm.
continues A, B, C, D, and it's infinite. Energy is infinite, infinite, and you cannot destroy it. So
Right.
it's almost like a little wavelength of fear that
Yep.
was started from stress, and next thing you know, you are
Mm-hmm.
literally so fucking scared that some of us would be willing or have tried to actually kill ourselves because we are so scared. Okay. um
Yes.
right, so that's when you know, okay, then this isn't me. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
me. Something is either taking over. Like, it's not my energy, or
Right.
it's you actually being converted into the right side or the left side, positive,
Yeah.
negative. So
Yeah.
tú puedes estar caminando and you're walking, and next thing you know, you think you're walking towards the north. Well, honey, you were actually walking towards the south, and this whole time you were walking
Exactly.
in a straight line, you see?
Right. Right.
And,
Right.
right. So if you're
It
looking
makes
straight
sense.
ahead, the only thing you're going to see is fear. So you
Right.
sometimes need a little bit of help, I suppose. I don't like the word
Yeah.
help for some reason, but whatever. You need like a little tip, like a little help, and then you turn around so that you can
Guidance, maybe?
continue to
Like
walk the other
guidance.
side.
Yeah. Yeah. Like guidance, to kind of get you to where you need to go. Because
And you know what? If you suffer from depression a lot, one,
yeah.
you definitely want it. If you feel like it went beyond that one point that you're like, I can't control it anymore, and this is
Uh huh.
overtaking my body, overtaking my emotion, I can't work it, and it kind of feels like a little fear for that moment or that day. Definitely address it like you're doing it with me, like you're doing it with your friends and family. And if you seek
Right.
therapy, but even better, because they're
Right.
supposed to be subject matter experts in these types of mental health conditions. But
Right.
don't get it twisted. Usually, people that are doing a lot of the therapy, they're not psychologists and they're not psychiatrists at all. They're just people that
Right.
have master's degrees, and some even,
And
less.
some don't
Just,
even know. Yeah. And then so it's funny that you said that. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, but
you're good.
some of them have not been through what you're going through. So
Never. So
that
they wouldn't understand it.
exactly, exactly,
I
exactly.
always
Unless
wanted
it
to maybe even pursue something like, but I don't know. It's just now I view medicine a little bit different. You know what I mean? But
right,
I don't know. I'm just kind of that's where I'm at. I'm with the meds. I'm like, okay, well, let me listen to something else, because obviously without the meds,
right,
I was acting different. I felt
right,
okay, but I was acting different. Therefore,
mhm,
people around me were scared, or people around me didn't understand. So
right.
let's do the meds and see. But you know what? I think it's just that you're being misunderstood. I just think
Oh
that
yeah,
people are being misunderstood, and but they're
yeah,
not really crazy. They're just misunderstood.
right. And I truly think that some people, not all, some people have a chemical imbalance, right?
Right,
And for some people it's harder to understand it than others,
right,
you know
right,
so I mean there's so many things behind it, but what I do not like about the modern medicine is that as soon as you go to the doctor right away, it's like, okay, here's meds, here's prescription, here's prescription, you know and that kind of irritates me a lot. So I just think that they want to medicate people for every little thing, and not every situation needs to be medicated, right?
right.
And again, like some situations where you're really badly depressed, maybe yes, but you know again, I'm not a doctor, and I don't know everything, you know but I just think that also speaking with people who have been there, or speaking to a friend who can be a confidant, someone that can give you good advice, right? Because you don't want to just talk to anybody. You
Right,
don't want to just, spill your beans out to just anyone, because not everyone is going to give you good advice, right?
right,
Um,
right.
so it's really good to be able to, talk to somebody, and sometimes figure things out together, as a friend, like, hey, you know what, I'm going through this, what do you think, how else can I handle this, should I seek therapy, should I go through this, go through that, and stuff like that. And sometimes it's just good to just talk it out, right?
Oh my
Because
God.
not
Yes.
everything needs therapy. So a lot of times it's just just talk it out, talk about how what you experienced if you haven't spoken to anybody about it, right? What you
Right.
have experienced and stuff like that. And I think that, a lot of times that helps as well.
Agreed.
So,
100%.
yeah, yeah. So, is there any other thing you'd like to talk about?
You know what? I would just say there's plenty of things that people can do to get out of a depression. Not just therapy, not just meds, but it works differently for everyone, and you're right. So of course you're going to be down and depressed, right? So you're not even confident. So I would say try to understand yourself, who you are, what you want from life. Sit with yourself, and then
Right.
some activities like watching the birds or just sitting out, and looking at the ocean, or whatever. Nature is a wonderful thing, and like you're saying, talking to a friend.
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
and if you're always in the house, maybe it is getting let loose and partying, or do something activity, or group
Right.
activities. There's other things that you can belong to, a sport, or you can belong to something that will make you feel special, that will make you feel whatever. Some of us are
Better. It'll make you feel better. Something that'll
right,
that'll change the environment of where you're at, right?
right, right. But for me,
Yeah.
if I'd had to close it off, I would say, you know what? Love. Because when there's a
Yes.
little bit of love and compassion, mano, you feel so fucking
Yes.
good. I could be in fear, and all something, it's just like a little hand on my shoulder, or like a little, I don't know, like a little, you okay, like a little, and next thing you know that you're not alone. You know that there's someone out there potentially.
Right. Right.
So
Yes. Yes.
love,
I think
baby.
that too. I think, being able being able to have that love there for you can also help, because there's a lot of people who lack, that feeling, that, maybe something, again, childhood traumas, that maybe their parent wasn't there, and or they felt like the parent wasn't there for them,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I think,
Gonna be in a lack of love. So you got it.
yes,
I mean, I would say let's potentially do more to extend on the topic. So if it is childhood
yes,
traumas, and another cast in only childhood traumas.
yes, yes, we can do that. Let's do that. I
I
enjoy
love the
that too.
idea. Elba, it's always awesome when you have me on your recordings.
Yes, I love
Definitely,
having you.
definitely love it.
Yes, I love having you on. Thank you so, so much. And I appreciate you, girl.
Awesome. Call me if you need anything. Love you, girl.
Okay, love you. Have a good one.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.